In the 90s, gaming was not just about pixels. It was war. Nintendo had Mario, the platforming king. Sega had Sonic, a blue blur built to dethrone him. But who really won? This was more than a rivalry, it was a fight that shaped the future of gaming. This is Mario vs. Sonic, the evolution of gaming's greatest rivalry. In the 1980s and early 90s, two gaming icons were born. Nintendo gave us Mario, the Italian plumber who redefined platforming, while Sega introduced Sonic, a blue hedgehog built for speed, designed to be Mario's ultimate rival and push gaming to new limits. Before saving princesses, Mario was just Jumpman, which is like calling Spider-Man Web Guy. In 1981's Donkey Kong, he wasn't even a plumber, just a carpenter dodging barrels to rescue his kidnapped girlfriend. His name? That came after landlord Mario Segale raged at Nintendo over unpaid rent. Mario's iconic look came from 8-bit limitations. A mustache and big nose made his expressions clearer. A cap avoided the need to animate hair, and overalls made his arms stand out. Then, in 1983, Mario Brothers introduced Luigi, his twin brother, who at first was just a green Mario. But Super Mario Brothers changed everything. With smooth controls, creative levels, and an unforgettable soundtrack, it became one of gaming's most influential titles, selling over 58 million copies. Mario dominated early gaming, with classics like Super Mario Bros. 2, introducing Shy Guy and Birdo, Super Mario Bros. 3 with new power-ups, Super Mario Land as his first portable adventure, Dr. Mario, Nintendo's spin on Tetris, and Super Mario World, introducing Yoshi as the best-selling SNES game. By now, Mario was gaming itself, but Sega was gearing up for a fight. Fun fact, Mario, Luigi, and Donkey Kong almost never existed. Nintendo originally planned to make a Popeye game, but when they couldn't secure the rights, Shigeru Miyamoto created new characters instead. Donkey Kong became a massive hit, and ironically, Nintendo got the Popeye license in 1982, just 1 year too late. By the early 90s, Sega needed a mascot to take on Nintendo. Their previous mascot, Alex Kidd, just wasn't cutting it. Sega's design team went wild, pitching ideas like a rabbit, a bulldog, and even a tiny man in pajamas. But the winner? An edgy blue hedgehog, designed by Naoto Oshima. Sonic's color matched Sega's logo, and his red shoes were inspired by Michael Jackson's footwear, with the color scheme said to be inspired by Santa Claus. Originally codenamed Mr. Hedgehog, a mistranslation led to Mr. Needlemouse. Other name ideas? Raisupi and LS, standing for Lightspeed. But in the end, they went with Soniku za Hedgehogu, aka Sonic the Hedgehog, as he could run faster than the speed of sound. Sega built Sonic's gameplay around speed, making it faster than any platformer before. Yuji Naka even got motion sickness from Sonic's speed, so they slowed him down. Sonic the Hedgehog launched in 1991 and became a massive hit, selling over 24 million copies. Mario had ruled for years, but now Sega had fired the first shot and the rivalry was on. Fun fact, on November 25, 1993, Sonic made history as the first ever video game character to get a balloon in Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. But Sonic's big day turned into a disaster. Strong winds sent the 6-story balloon into a lamppost, popping his eye and causing him to deflate. Worse, the impact broke a streetlight, injuring a man and a little girl. The battle between Mario and Sonic wasn't just about two mascots. It was a fight for the soul of gaming. The first console war had begun, and neither Nintendo nor Sega was backing down. But before this rivalry, gaming almost died. The 1983 video game crash wiped out Atari and left the industry in ruins. Then, Nintendo revived gaming with the NES, turning Mario into the face of gaming. By the late 80s, Nintendo dominated with 90% of the console market, selling over 60 million NES units. Meanwhile, Sega's Master System barely made a dent. But in 1989, Sega fought back with the Genesis, a 16-bit powerhouse that made the NES look ancient. But better hardware wasn't enough. Sega needed an edge, a cooler mascot, and attitude. Enter Sonic the Hedgehog. In 1992, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 launched with the Spin Dash, co-op mode, Super Sonic, and a new sidekick, Tails. It was a massive hit, grossing $450 million. Sonic CD made the jump from cartridge to disc, and Sonic 3 introduced Knuckles. Sega backed Sonic with aggressive marketing, firing direct shots at Nintendo with the iconic slogan, "Genesis does what Nintendo don't."
What Nintendo don't.
It worked. Sega outsold the SNES in North America for years, proving Mario finally had real competition. Fun fact, Michael Jackson was a huge Sonic fan, and Sega hired him to compose Sonic 3's music. But after controversy, they cut ties. But the mystery remains, as some believe his tracks still made it into the final game. Nintendo wasn't letting a blue hedgehog steal the crown. In 1992, they launched Super Mario Kart, introducing power-ups, split screen, and Rainbow Road. Selling 8.8 million copies, it birthed one of Nintendo's biggest franchises. Sonic tried to keep up with Sonic Drift, and failed miserably. Eurogamer called it a terrible racing game that made me physically sick. But Nintendo's real counterpunch came in 1996 with Super Mario 64. Years earlier, Shigeru Miyamoto dreamed of a 3D Mario. But the SNES wasn't powerful enough. Then came the Nintendo 64, with an analog stick built for precision. While Sonic 3D Blast used isometric gameplay, Mario fully embraced 3D freedom. With open worlds and fluid controls, Super Mario 64 set the gold standard for 3D platforming, selling 11.9 million copies and winning Game of the Year. To this day, Charles Martinet's voice echoes in our heads.
Mamma mia!
On September 9th, 1996, Mario and Sonic got a new competitor, a Bandicoot in jeans. Crash Bandicoot's PlayStation debut was a roaring success, selling 6.8 million copies, though he never quite reached Mario or Sonic's level. Then Nintendo launched Mario Party, creating a new mega-hit franchise. Sonic tried again with Sonic Shuffle, but as one reviewer put it, for the love of gaming, avoid this title like the plague. As the 90s ended, Nintendo was standing strong, while Sega was losing momentum. The console war was far from over, but Nintendo was about to land a crushing blow. Fun fact, Mario Party's intense minigames had players grinding their palms on the N64's analog stick, leading to injuries. So Nintendo had to send out 1.2 million protective gloves. But here's an even crazier fact. Nintendo made one of their biggest mistakes ever by giving Philips the rights to use their characters. The result? The infamous Zelda CDI games.
How about a kiss for luck?
You've got to be kidding.
And Hotel Mario. So bad, they became legendary. In 1998, Sega went all in on the Dreamcast, betting everything on a comeback. Sonic Adventure aimed to bring Sonic into 3D, finally catching up to Mario 64. Sonic got a full redesign. His quills doubled in size, his limbs stretched, and his blue fur all darkened. Sonic Adventure 2 introduced Shadow the Hedgehog, the ultimate edgy rival. But even with all the attitude in the world, Sonic still couldn't match Mario's 3D success. Meanwhile, Nintendo was thriving. The GameCube arrived with Super Mario Sunshine, taking Mario on a tropical adventure. and Super Smash Bros. Melee was letting him battle Pikachu, Link, and Donkey Kong. Sonic wasn't invited. Yet. Both games scored 92 on Metacritic and are still considered some of the greatest games ever made. Then, the PlayStation 2 emerged as the best-selling console of all time. With over 160 million units sold, Nintendo held strong, but Sega? It was bleeding money, losing over 500 million during the Dreamcast era. And if that wasn't painful enough, former Sega of America CEO Tom Kalinske called one of Sega's choices the stupidest decision in business history. What was it? They rejected a partnership with Sony. That's right, before the PlayStation existed, Sony wanted to team up with Sega. Instead, Sega rejected them, forcing Sony to go solo and build the PlayStation, which completely crushed Sega. Just imagine if Sega had said yes. Today, we might be looking at a Sega PlayStation 5 dominating the gaming world. But in 2001, the damage was done. Sega officially discontinued the Dreamcast. The console war was lost, but Sonic? He was far from finished. Fun fact, Sega almost went bankrupt, but one man saved them, Isao Okawa. With Sega drowning in debt, he loaned them $500 million. Then, in an unbelievable act of loyalty, forgave the entire debt and returned $695 million in shares before passing away in March 2001. Thanks to him, Sega survived. Now that's a real hero. In a twist no one saw coming, Sonic jumped ship to Nintendo consoles. After years of fighting Mario, he was now playing in Mario's world. Sonic Advance hit the Game Boy Advance, scoring 9.1 from IGN. Sonic Heroes followed on GameCube, but a terrible camera and bad voice acting held it back. Then things got weird. Shadow the Hedgehog confused fans by adding a darker storyline, swearing, and guns? But nothing could prepare fans for the disaster of 2006. Sonic the Hedgehog was meant to be a rebirth. Instead, it became one of the worst games ever, plagued by glitches, an incoherent plot, and painfully long load times. It crashed to a 43 on Metacritic, described by one critic as rock bottom. Could this disaster be the wake-up call Sonic needed for a comeback? While Sonic 2006 flopped with 2.7 million copies, Mario was reaching new heights. Mario Kart DS revolutionized the series with online multiplayer, racing to 23.6 million copies sold. Then came New Super Mario Bros., which broke sales records with 30.8 million copies sold, making it one of the best-selling games ever. 2007 saw Super Mario Galaxy launch Mario into Space, where gravity-defying gameplay and Wii Remote innovations earned it a near-perfect score on Metacritic, proving once again that Mario was still king. Fun fact, GameStop customers got a phone call mistakenly saying Super Mario Galaxy was rated M for mature instead of E for everyone. Imagine a dark Mario game. Now that's something I'd love to see. Back in the 90s, the idea of Mario and Sonic teaming up seemed as unlikely as Bowser and Peach getting engaged. So when Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games was announced, many people thought it was an April Fool's joke. But it was real. Sega and Nintendo believed the Olympics were the perfect setting for these two icons to finally share the stage. With over 10 million copies sold, the game was a hit, and it paved the way for 5 more Olympic sequels. For fans who wanted a real fight, Super Smash Bros. Brawl delivered. With 39 playable characters and online multiplayer, it was a dream come true for fans. Mario was not just dominating platformers, he was ruling the racetrack too. Mario Kart Wii brought motion controls, motorcycles, and racked up 37 million copies sold, cementing it as one of the best-selling games ever. New Super Mario Bros. Wii continued the momentum with 4-player action and 30 million sales. Super Mario Galaxy 2 expanded the gravity-defying gameplay, adding Yoshi and scoring perfect 10s from IGN and GameSpot. Mario also shined on handheld devices, with Super Mario 3D Land, merging 2D and 3D gameplay, and New Super Mario Bros. 2 coin-collecting obsession. But then came the Wii U. Despite introducing HD to Mario's world with games like New Super Mario Bros. U and Super Mario 3D World, it failed terribly. So, Nintendo knew they had to make a comeback. And in 2017, the Nintendo Switch was about to change everything. Fun fact, in 2013, Nintendo declared it the Year of Luigi to celebrate his 30th anniversary. But instead of a grand celebration, Nintendo suffered a record loss of $456 million. Poor Luigi. Meanwhile, Sonic had an even rougher time. After the Sonic 2006 disaster, Sega needed a comeback. But turning Sonic into a werewolf in Sonic Unleashed wasn't it. Sega was desperate. So desperate that they delisted several low-rated Sonic games to build hype for the next one. Thankfully, Sonic Colors finally brought back the speed and fun that fans loved, selling over 4 million copies. Sonic's 20th anniversary followed with Sonic Generations, letting players control both modern and classic Sonic. It kept the momentum going, but it was not quite the comeback Sega needed. Then Sonic Lost World tried adding parkour mechanics, but instead, it tripped and fell. But then, things got so much worse. Sonic Boom: Rise of Lyric, based on the Sonic Boom TV show, was so horribly broken it barely functioned. Metacritic score? A brutal 32. Critics called it the absolute worst Sonic game. It failed so hard its developer Big Red Button almost shut down. If you want the full story of how Sonic went from his golden era to absolute train wrecks like this, you were in luck. I actually made a 9-part series on the evolution of Sonic the Hedgehog, covering every high-speed triumph and spectacular failure. Seriously, it is a roller coaster. Buckle up and check it out after this. Sonic did not just need a comeback, he needed a miracle. And in 2017, much like Mario, everything was about to change, with Sonic's long-awaited comeback. Fun fact, in 2011, a bizarre horror story surfaced about a teenager playing a haunted Sonic game. The story described eerie glitches, cryptic messages, and a feeling that he was not alone. A year later, a fan-made game called Sonic.exe turned the nightmare into a full-blown horror experience, starring a demonic Sonic. 2017 was Nintendo's time to shine, and boy did they deliver. The Nintendo Switch launched, letting players game at home or on the go. Alongside it came Super Mario Odyssey, where Mario teamed up with Cappy, his hat buddy that let him possess enemies and explore wild open worlds. With a 97 Metacritic score and 29 million copies sold, it was an instant classic. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe followed, an update of the Wii U version, and it sold a staggering 67 million copies, becoming one of the top-selling games ever. Mario kept winning with Super Mario Party and the open-world Bowser's Fury. Then, in 2023, Super Mario Bros. Wonder arrived, with trippy Wonder Flowers. Nintendo brainstormed 2,000 ideas, and only the wildest ones made the cut. The result? A 92 on Metacritic and another massive hit. Nintendo was on fire. Meanwhile, Sonic was racing for a comeback for his 25th anniversary. In 2017, Sonic Mania, made by fan-turned-pro Christian Whitehead, brought back 2D Sonic magic. It earned an 86 and became the best-selling Sonic game in 15 years. Proof the blue blur still had speed. But then came Sonic Forces. And ouch! 57 on Metacritic. Critics called it uninspired and disappointing. Sonic needed something big, And in 2022, Sonic Frontiers was his shot, the series' first open-world game. It aimed to revolutionize Sonic's gameplay, moving away from linear levels. Despite mixed reviews, it was a commercial success. Selling 3.5 million copies. Then, in 2024, Sonic X Shadow Generations starred Shadow and remade classic levels, scoring an 80 from critics, though fans swore it was a 9. Sonic was finally zooming again. But Mario and Sonic had even bigger dreams, going from game icons to Hollywood superstars. Sonic's leap to Hollywood started as a complete disaster. When the first trailer dropped, fans were horrified. Sonic looked like a human hedgehog hybrid straight out of a nightmare. The backlash was brutal, forcing Paramount to delete the trailer.
Meow?
Director Jeff Fowler admitted defeat on Twitter, saying, "The message is loud and clear. You aren't happy with the design, and you want changes." Longtime Sonic fan Tyson Hesse was brought in to fix the Blue Blur's nightmare design, and Paramount invested an extra $5 million to fixing the CGI mess. But it was worth every penny. By the time it hit theaters in 2020, the redesign made the film a massive success, even breaking Marvel's 10-year streak as the top-grossing superhero movie of the year. Now that's how you turn a disaster into a marketing goldmine. Fun fact, that nightmare Sonic design wasn't forgotten. It became a meme called Ugly Sonic. And in a hilarious twist, he actually made a cameo in the Disney movie Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers.
I've been offered a new reality show where I do ride-alongs with the FBI. It's called Ugly Sonic, Uglier Crimes.
From a rocky start to a box office sensation, the Sonic the Hedgehog movies kept outrunning expectations. Sonic 2 introduced Knuckles and raked in over $400 million. But it was Sonic 3 in 2024 that truly smashed records with a whopping $486 million. The biggest hype? Shadow the Hedgehog's debut, voiced by Keanu Reeves. Given Shadow's mysterious and vengeful nature, it is no surprise that fans thought his role in John Wick made him the perfect choice. And Jim Carrey? He almost did not return as Dr. Robotnik, as he had been considering retirement. He famously said he would only come back for a movie that was truly important for people to see, with a script written in gold ink. So here's the wild part. Director Jeff Fowler actually sent him a script printed in 24-karat gold ink. That convinced him to return, not just as Dr. Robotnik, but also in a dual role as Professor Gerald Robotnik. It is rare for a franchise to keep momentum with sequels, let alone break its own box office record 3 times in a row, but Sonic pulled it off, proving that the Blue Blur is faster than ever. Sonic wasn't the only one making history. After 1993's disastrous live-action Mario movie, Nintendo decided it was time for a real Hollywood comeback. In 2023, the Super Mario Bros. Movie hit theaters, created by Illumination Studios, the masterminds behind Despicable Me.
I am the league's director, Silas Ramsbottom.
Bottom.
This time, Mario and friends were fully animated, staying true to their video game roots. The film featured an all-star cast: Chris Pratt as Mario, Charlie Day as Luigi, Anya Taylor-Joy as Peach, and Jack Black as Bowser. But there was one huge controversy. Fans were outraged when Chris Pratt was cast as Mario. Many believed Charles Martinet, Mario's longtime voice actor, should have taken the role.
It's a me, Mario! Woohoo!
But Jack Black as Bowser, instantly loved. His Peaches song even hit the Billboard Hot 100. Despite the controversy, the movie shattered records, grossing over $1.4 billion worldwide, making it the highest-grossing video game movie ever. That's more than all 3 Sonic movies combined. If you want to see how Mario evolved from an 8-bit plumber to a billion-dollar empire, I have a 6-part series covering the entire evolution of Super Mario Bros. Be sure to check it out after this. And just when fans thought the hype had peaked, the post-credits scene dropped one last bombshell. A Yoshi egg cracking open, teasing his arrival in the sequel. Mario and Sonic have conquered gaming and Hollywood, but their story is still being written. Next, we dive into their legendary legacies and the massive plans that will shape their future. Fun fact, Mario jumped from the screen to reality in March 2021 when Super Nintendo World opened in Japan. The theme park was designed with the legendary Shigeru Miyamoto himself. Since then, Universal Studios and Nintendo have expanded to Hollywood, with 2 more locations set to open in 2025. Mario made his debut in 1981, while Sonic sped onto the scene in 1991. That makes them 44 and 34 years old. But instead of slowing down, they just keep breaking records. Sonic became a TV star with 6 animated series, including Sonic X as his first anime. In 2022, he landed on Netflix with Sonic Prime. Mario had his own cartoons too, including the Super Mario Bros. Super Show and Super Mario World in 1991. It has been a while, Mario. Maybe time for a Netflix series? Both characters have thrived in comics, with Sonic earning a Guinness World Record for the longest-running video game comic series. Their reach extended far beyond gaming, with merchandise flooding the market. Sonic was the first video game character to appear in McDonald's Happy Meals, and over 50 million of his toys were sold worldwide. Meanwhile, Mario's face was everywhere, from board games to breakfast cereal, with his merchandise sales peaking at over $200 million annually. Both even got Lego sets, proving they are literal building blocks of gaming history. And for some reason, over 1 million pairs of Sonic trousers have been sold. Yes, trousers. Fun fact, since 1994, Sonic has been a Happy Meal toy multiple times. But the real gem? A hilariously bad Sonic commercial that left fans wondering, how did SEGA ever approve this?
Sonic Skateboard!
In gaming, Sonic has starred in 114 titles and sold over 183 million copies. Impressive. But Mario still holds the crown. The Super Mario series alone has sold 430 million copies, but counting every game that he has been in, that number explodes to 909 million, making him the biggest video game franchise of all time. And when it comes to money, Sonic's franchise has grossed $6.4 billion, which sounds massive until you see Mario's total at $55 billion. Mario, buddy, you are running a gaming empire. Maybe toss Sonic a few coins. But their story is far from over. The Nintendo Switch 2 has already launched, and it came with Mario Kart World, the first open-world Mario Kart experience. Meanwhile, SEGA is doubling down on its biggest franchises, and Sonic looks ready for a comeback. Over in Hollywood, both icons are set to shine again. The Super Mario Bros. 2 movie lands in 2026, while Sonic the Hedgehog 4 speeds into theaters in 2027. Mario vs. Sonic. What started as a rivalry became a friendship, and now a shared legacy. But if only one can be the true king of gaming, who gets your vote? Let us know in the comments.